The sun was sliding behind the distant mesas when Ethan Hale guided his horse down the dusty trail that led toward the small wooden cabin at the edge of Lone Creek Valley. The evening wind was warm, brushing past him like a memory he wasn't prepared to face. His shirt clung to his back with sweat, his arms aching from a full day repairing fences across the ranch, but none of that compared to the weight he felt inside his chest. He was returning to her, Mary Whitfield, a girl who should have had a peaceful life, not this life, not this wild land, not this loneliness he felt echo inside her every time she spoke. 3 weeks had passed since Ethan had allowed her to stay in the cabin. She had arrived with nothing but a small travel bag and frightened eyes that rarely held still. She had spoken little of her past, only that she needed a safe place far from the town where whispers chased her like shadows. Ethan had offered shelter because something in her trembling voice had stirred a part of him he'd long buried. As Ethan approached the cabin now, he noticed the warm glow spilling from the small window. The lantern inside flickered like a heartbeat trying to stay steady. He dismounted quietly, dust falling from his boots as he approached the door. He paused, the kind of pause a man takes when he knows the next moment may change something forever. He knocked lightly. The door creaked open. Mary stood inside, wearing a simple cream-white dress that floated around her like soft morning light. Her hair, usually kept neatly pinned, had loosened into gentle curls resting along her shoulders. She looked at Ethan with a gaze that was both afraid and desperate, a gaze that searched for safety she'd never known. "Mary," Ethan said softly, removing his hat. "You feeling all right?" She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped back, allowing him in. The cabin smelled faintly of lavender and warm wood. The bed behind her was neatly made, though the trembling of her hands betrayed whatever calm she was trying to show. Ethan's brows drew together. "Mary, did something happen?" Her lips parted, but no words came. She looked toward the window, then back at him. The flickering lantern made her look like a ghost caught between running and reaching out. Finally, she whispered, "Ethan, I'm scared." The word struck him harder than a buckshot. "What happened?" he asked again, stepping closer slowly, giving her room, letting her guide the moment. She swallowed hard. Her chest moved with quick breaths she was trying to control. I thought I heard someone outside. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Right by the wall." Ethan's hand tightened around his hat. His jaw flexed, because he knew what that meant. Someone had been watching the cabin. Someone had been close. He moved instinctively, checking the window, the corners, the doorframe. But nothing seemed disturbed. "You don't have to be afraid," he said. But Mary shook her head violently. It felt like they were waiting, like someone was right there. Her voice cracked, and Ethan froze for a moment, not from fear but from the intensity of the moment. The trembling in her hands, the panic in her breathing, the way she looked like she was trying to hold herself together with sheer will. He stepped closer, and Mary didn't back away. That alone told him more about her fear than anything else. Ethan raised his hands slow, reassuring, and lightly held her shoulders. "Mary," he said gently, "you're safe here. I'm right here." Her eyes lifted toward his, shimmering with unshed tears. "I don't want to be alone tonight," she whispered. Those words made something inside Ethan stop, not just his breath, but time itself. Because this wasn't a woman looking for comfort. This was a woman fighting the ghosts of her past, terrified that they had found her again. This was a plea for protection, trust, safety, not anything else. Ethan softened his grip, letting his thumbs gently brush her upper arms. "You won't be," he said. "I promise." Mary's breathing steadied a little, but the fear still clung to her like frost. She looked at him again, and he saw it, the unmistakable trembling she was too ashamed to hide. "Mary," Ethan whispered, "you're shaking." "I know," she breathed. "It's just everything feels like the past is walking after me." Ethan felt a heaviness in his chest. He wanted to pull her into his arms, wanted to promise he'd protect her from whatever had chased her here. But he didn't move until she did. After a small, fragile moment, she stepped closer. Her forehead rested against his chest. Ethan went still, completely still. His heart, heavy and careful, beat beneath her cheek. He lifted his hands, unsure if he should hold her or let her go, terrified of doing something wrong, something that might frighten her more. He held his breath. For her. Slowly, Mary whispered, "I don't know why I trust you so much, but when I look at you, I don't feel like running." Her words landed deep, deeper than Ethan expected, stirring a warmth inside him he had no defense against. He exhaled slowly. "Then don't run. Not from me." She looked up, her eyes soft, fragile, and so heartbreakingly hopeful it nearly undone him. Ethan guided her to sit on the edge of the bed, maintaining a careful distance. He knelt in front of her, searching her face. "Mary, whoever was outside, I'll find them. I'll keep watch all night. You have my word." Mary nodded, though fear still shadowed her expression. "Will you stay?" she asked in a trembling voice. "Just stay until I fall asleep?" Ethan swallowed. Of course. He sat in the chair beside the bed, facing her, guarding her like a silent sentinel. The lantern glowed softly across her pale dress, illuminating a face caught between exhaustion and vulnerability. Mary lay down, pulling the blanket lightly across her legs. Her eyes remained on him, as if reassuring herself he hadn't vanished. And for a long, long moment, they simply looked at each other. Quiet, breathless, connected by something neither yet understood. Her voice finally drifted into the silence. "Ethan, I'm glad it was you who found me." He felt that sentence like a warm arrow through the heart. And as Mary's eyes slowly began to close, Ethan remained unmoving, a rancher holding his breath for the trembling girl who had wandered into his lonely world. Outside, the night grew cold. Inside, something new began to warm. Morning sunlight stretched across the ranch like golden silk. Mary woke slowly, the softness of the blanket still warm from the night. Her lashes fluttered open, and she saw Ethan slumped in the chair beside her, arms crossed, chin dropped to his chest. He had stayed. All night. She sat up quietly, her heart swelling in a way she'd never felt before. She'd known kindness once years ago, but never like this. Never someone who stayed awake for her safety. Never someone who held still just so she wouldn't feel alone. Ethan stirred, blinking awake. "You're safe," he murmured before his eyes were fully open. It made Mary smile, a small, shy smile, because he'd spoken the words instinctively, like protecting her was now simply part of his breathing. "You didn't sleep at all, did you?" she asked softly. "Didn't need to," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "Wanted to make sure you were all right." She felt warmth bloom across her chest. Ethan looked at her with a gentleness so unguarded it nearly stole her breath. He stood, stretching. "Come on. Sun's up. Let's get some air." Mary hesitated but nodded. She stepped outside into the open ranch yard. The wind moved gently through her hair. Ethan walked beside her, guiding her toward the well near the corral. For the first time in weeks, Mary felt a strange lightness settling in her chest, as if last night's fear had given way to quiet trust. But peace never lasted long in Lone Creek Valley. Just as Mary reached the well, a sudden snap echoed behind them, the crack of a twig, sharp and close. Ethan froze. Mary's heart dropped. He turned, scanning the horizon. "Stay behind me," he said, voice low and firm. Mary felt the tremble return, the same trembling that had overtaken her the night before. She clutched the small leather-bound journal she had brought with her from the cabin, the only possession from her past she couldn't abandon. "Ethan, it's happening again," she whispered. "I know." His voice was calm, but a storm brewed behind his eyes. "Something's out there." He moved cautiously toward the edge of the ranch. Mary's fingertips pressed to her lips in panic. She followed him with her eyes. Every step he took made her chest tighten. But then, her foot slipped on the wooden platform of the well. She stumbled, falling hard onto the ground with a soft cry. The journal slipped from her hands. Ethan spun around. "Mary," he rushed to her side, dropping to his knees. She winced but forced a breath. "I'm all right, it just scared me." "You sure?" His face was inches from hers, concern burning fiercely in his eyes. Mary nodded, but her heart kept racing. fear swirling inside like a storm that refused to pass. Ethan placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Hey, look at me." She did, and the moment their eyes met, the world stilled. "You're safe," he repeated quietly. "I swear to you, Mary." Her breath hitched. "I don't know why I believe you so easily." He brushed a loose curl from her cheek, the gentlest touch she'd felt in years. "Because I won't let anything happen to you. You came here carrying fear, but you don't have to carry it alone." Her breath trembled, and Ethan held his perfectly still again. He always did that around her. He held his breath for her. Suddenly, the horse tied nearby neighed loudly, startled by something moving beyond the fences. Mary jerked in shock, her body trembling violently again. Ethan quickly moved his arm behind her back, helping her sit upright, letting her lean on him without making her feel small. The horse pawed the ground nervously. Mary looked up at Ethan, eyes wide with fear. "Ethan, what if whoever was outside last night is here now?" He clenched his jaw. "Then they picked the wrong ranch." But Mary shook her head. "I can't be the reason you get hurt. You don't get to decide that. I choose to protect you." Mary's throat tightened. "Why?" Ethan's breath caught. "I don't know when it happened, Mary. Maybe the first night you stayed. Maybe the first time you smiled. Maybe the moment you looked at me like I was the only calm in your storm." He inhaled deeply, voice trembling. "But you matter to me." Mary's eyes softened with heartbreak and something deeper. Before she could answer, a shadow moved near the barn. Mary gasped, grabbing Ethan's arm. He stood instantly, shielding her. But as he moved forward, the shadow stepped into the light. It wasn't a man, just a stray dog, thin and curious, trotting along the edge of the ranch. Mary's whole body sagged with relief. A soft laugh escaped her lips, half sob, half disbelief. Ethan exhaled. "Well, that's the bravest trespasser we've had in months." Mary covered her mouth, her trembling finally quieting. Ethan knelt again beside her, brushing dust from her hands, checking her knees, making sure she wasn't hurt. "You scared me," she whispered. "You scared me," Ethan replied softly. "When you fell, my heart nearly stopped." Their eyes met, and the connection between them deepened, raw and unguarded. Mary looked down at the journal lying in the dirt. Ethan picked it up, handing it to her. "This mean a lot to you." She nodded. "It's the only piece of my past I kept." "Maybe," Ethan said, "it's time you start writing a different future." Her breath trembled, but not from fear this time. From hope. From him. From the way he looked at her, like she wasn't broken. Ethan helped her stand, guiding her gently. She leaned into him, not because she was weak, but because she wanted to. As they walked back toward the cabin, Mary whispered, "Ethan, thank you. For last night. For today. For everything." He smiled softly. "Mary, I didn't stay to protect you." She blinked. "Then why?" "I stayed because I didn't want to miss the moment you stopped trembling." Mary's heart cracked open, fully, finally, beautifully. Inside the cabin, sunlight danced across the wooden floor. Mary sat on the edge of the bed. Ethan stood in the doorway, hesitant, waiting for her to speak first. She looked at him, really looked, and whispered, "I'm not trembling anymore." Ethan's breath left him in a slow, overwhelming exhale. He stepped inside, closing the door gently behind him, not to shut the world out, but to let something new begin. Outside, the valley stood silent and safe. Inside, two hearts finally found what they had been aching for. A moment of fear that brought them together. A breath held for someone who mattered. A future waiting to be written. The end.